blueprints, mathematics, fashion stars, and many other creative endeavors. They are all one common asset: models. They aim to represent something important, whether it will be a theme that we experience from time to time, an issue dear to our hearts, and an overall perspective on the whole topic itself. Models invite us to take a step back from what we know already, learn from the stories and wisdom they express, and update our knowledge to form patterns of clarity and simplicity. The human mind loves to be inspired by many models, but there is one type that often goes unnoticed: mental models. Mental models are the underlying frameworks that shape how we perceive and navigate the complexities of life. Just as blueprints guide the construction of a building, mental models guide our thoughts, decisions, and actions for smarter thinking. And now, in this fast, evolving world, harnessing the power of healthy mental models has never been more vital to enhance our human intelligence. And that's what I want to share with you today: an awareness of these mental models and how they can change your perspective for a brighter future. Now, to understand the power of mental models, they are frameworks designed to simplify the way we observe and mostly think about things. They kind of have been inspired by ancestral wisdom and personal experiences into many situations that a lot of problem solving has been quite tricky to handle. And it mainly forces us to have a look around the bigger picture rather than just analyzing that small detail that we unnecessarily obsess about. With these mental models, they allow you to change the context without really thinking about the content. When an event happens or something's not really in your favor occurs in a moment, they allow you to sort of see things a little bit differently. They sort of see things from a different angle rather than analyzing what's right in front of you. It's like when you're editing a YouTube video. You won't be able to change what you've just filmed, but what you can do is how this video can be perceived. So if you're gonna take out your mistakes or
change the sound,
change the background, and do whatever you like with what you have in front of you. And then when you do that, people are gonna have a wide variety of perceptions about this, of how the edit supported the main content of the video. And perceptions can vary on a wide spectrum. Like, you won't be able to set your audience on one single desired perception that you want. So some people might see this video as quite inspiring. Some people might see this video as quite controversial, entertaining. You may have heard of the term content is king and context is kingdom, and I actually fully stand by this quote. I feel like the content can be quite ignored and maybe a bit misunderstood, and with these mental models it can help clear that up. So I want to talk about my experience of discovering how I got into these mental models. So as you probably know, I write and film videos more about pattern recognition and how it shapes our perspectives, our lives for a brighter future. I actually felt pretty amazed that pattern recognition and mental models do actually go hand in hand together. And some of the things that I would react to most of the time just by instinct, learning about these mental models, I have this like a bit of a toolkit with me. So whenever I come across this situation again, I can always see it a little differently using this mental model that I've just learned. I really do think it gets very overlooked. I feel like this is not a very mentioned topic. Like I mentioned, the pattern recognition is also not very well talked about. But now recently, I'm very happy to see that mental models are starting to get the attention that they deserve, and I can see that so many bloggers, YouTubers, and so many different entrepreneurs are really putting this subject on the line. As you probably know, mental models have gained awareness through two of the biggest entrepreneurs of all time, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, but there have also been other bloggers like James Clear, Shane Parrish, and there's even a YouTuber, an underrated but great YouTuber, Vicky Zhao. She really talks a lot about mental models and systems thinking and how she applies it to her life as well. But there is one book that I have been reading that exposed me to mental models, and that is this one right here, Super Thinking by Gabriel Weinberg and Lauren McCann. Gabriel Weinberg is the founder of DuckDuckGo, and Lauren McCann is an MIT statistician. And in this book, they go through like a huge range of mental models. I think there's like 300 of them in them, which is absolutely insane. And they go through like, and it's all like split into like certain chapters here, like certain situations. So there's one like on decision making, one on like productivity, one on dealing with conflict, all kinds of the common situations that we go through from time to time. And I really like the fact that the mental models all come from a wide range of disciplines. And I've been listening to the Mind Valley podcast where both Gabriel and Lauren actually appeared to talk about this.
But what's interesting is they come from all sorts of disciplines. And this came about from one of the best investors in the world, Charlie Munger, who's at Warren Buffett's right-hand man at Berkshire Hathaway. And what he found out from his years of investing is if you learn the biggest concepts from the major disciplines like physics, economics, philosophy, they can actually be applied outside those disciplines to help you on your day-to-day life, including investing, but everywhere. And so as an example, from physics, there's a concept of critical mass. And so critical mass, as people may know, is a nuclear energy concept. It's related to the atomic bomb. You need a critical mass of material to get an explosion. But it's also a very useful business concept. So a business or a product can have critical mass. And if you realize that it's that type of product, then you can reason about it way more effectively. You can say, what would it take to get this product to have critical mass? And then it even applies beyond business, personal life. A party needs critical mass to be a good party.
A political movement.
A political movement, exactly. And so a concept is very versatile. And if you know it, then you can really shortcut your thinking and be like, okay, I realize that's a critical mass problem, so I know a lot about it instantly. And there are about 300 of these concepts that really help you upgrade your reasoning, and that's what we lay out in the book.
Now, to give you a little bit of inspiration, I'd like to show you some of my favorite mental models as well, and I have about like 5 of them. Some of them you might recognize, some of them you may not. They all came from super thinking, and possibly in future videos, I would like to make a video about each one of these. Occam's razor. This is probably the most well-known mental model there is out there. When you have a choice of decisions that you need to make and you wanted to choose one, typically the one with the fewest assumptions and the simplest is the most preferred one. This one is quite controversial. Like, normally the simplest isn't always the best one. It has given us the reminder, always keep things very simple and not get too involved with the complicated side of things. I mean, who wants to go into that? And apparently, Occam's razor has been the catalyst behind many of science's great discoveries and inventions. And there's actually a book called Life is Simple by John Joe Madden, and he sort of talks about these sorts of things. Hanlon's razor. There's actually a lot of razors in it, but this one I would say has probably changed the way I see undesirable situations. So the premise of this model is that if something happens, hurt your feelings, our first instinct, like, we typically blame people. We seem to blame people for like their stupid actions. But with this mental model, it just completely shuts that down, sort of forces you to think of what situations could have caused this. What might have caused this person to do such a thing? Like, even if it was an accident or by purpose. Did they have a poor sleep quality last night? Did they have a bit of a bad day at work or a stressful event just moments ago? And I've really applied this to my job as a pharmacist. If I see like a colleague of mine who doesn't do what I tell them to do, or they didn't communicate to me very well, I would think about like the possible reasons they could have had that. Maybe they might have forgot, or they had so many things on their to-do list, or caught up by someone in the corridor just moments ago, something very urgent or an emergency. I sort of scan around and see what kind of things happen, and then I ask them to see like if everything is okay, and just to confirm a few things. And it allowed me to form a very good relationship with my colleagues. And I think this mental model will be a game changer. Bayesian inference. Now, this one can get a little bit mathematical and a bit complicated with its definition, but it basically means that our beliefs update themselves with new information that comes in. And it helps me to clear up any misunderstandings. It gives me so much clarity on the things that I probably didn't know about. Computational thinking. As its name suggests, this is thinking like a computer. And our computers are based around our human minds. It mainly follows algorithms and the steps you take to reach your desired goal. So like when you learn to code, you sort of lay out the steps for the computer to take and it will conduct the desired outcome for you. And you can also apply this to everyday life. And finally, systems thinking. Probably besides Hanlon's razor and Bayesian inference, this one is probably another one that's really changed the course of how I think. You look at things from a whole and you see the connections. And I've talked a lot about connections here. You sort of stepping back, seeing the bigger picture, and you see how some wholes connect with one another, and you see the interconnections between the pieces of information, as if they connect to each other just like a system would. These are 5 of my favorite mental models. Do you have any mental models that changed the course of your life? Let me know in the comments down below. So now we've seen there is a lot of mental models that you can learn and add to your toolkit. Now I want to talk to you how they can actually help you to think more smarter and change your life. First thing is they reframe your perspective. Think back to the video editing analogy I just talked about. You're changing the context, not the content. There's nothing you could do with the content, but how you see it, that's the one thing you can change. And particularly if you can see it from a healthier perspective, that is really a big step up. You're being proactive rather than reactive. And it won't be an easy journey at the start. I've had many instances that I've reacted to things that I shouldn't have instead of actually thinking it a little bit better. When you're proactive, you're sort of, in a way, thinking more long term. If I could explain this a little bit better, they sort of allow you to, first off, learn from the history and the past patterns that you've been falling onto. They help you to analyze those patterns and allow you to think about, when you come to this situation again, how could I view this differently? And how would this benefit for the future? They help you overcome something called biases. Now these ones are quite easy to acquire and kind of our first instinct that we tend to react upon. And having this sort of delayed gratification, mental models that help us remind us of our long-term goals and values ahead. It combats information overload. In today's world, the information, it's abundant, it's accessible, but it's too much. It can cloud our judgment, it can cloud our decision making with so many choices that we have in front of us, and overall it can promote a low self-esteem. But with mental models, it helps us to organize this information and see what are the better decisions to take from there. Enhances adaptability, similar to the information overload, which is a new event that we are slowly adapting to. By using these mental models, we become more flexibly minded, more open to opportunities, even in situations when we are expected to be at our best when we are at our worst. And it gives us this sense of adaptability that we might need to take in for the days to come in this information abundant age. As always, thank you so much for watching. You might want to enjoy this video up here, and please do get in touch with me. I would love to hear what you think about mental models and pattern recognition. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.